Hello everybody, welcome to my installment of a video talking about practicing. So this is a common question that I've seen pop up in a lot of social media, Facebook groups for guitar, and I just wanted to address this because I think it's such an important thing, and I honestly wish that I had something like this when I was starting out, because it would just fast track the process that when I was going through my practicing years. So I share this with all of my students, and basically the number one reason why I started doing this and created this practice regiment is to have focus and something that you can have structure in your practicing, because sometimes when you're practicing it can just be aimless, and then sometimes if it's not structured you don't really see any real results. So I started adapting this, and then I started sharing it with my students. So basically what you're doing here is you can take a screenshot of this if you want, and what it is there's the date at the top. So this is a week schedule. So you got Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. And then you have, in the first column here, you have scales, and then in the second one you have notes, and in the third one you have arpeggios. Fourth one you have trill drills, and then you're going to have basically song number 1, song number 2, and song number 3. And I'm going to break each one of these down and explain how you can utilize this for your full potential. And then at the bottom I have goals. So, what are some of your goals that you want to accomplish in your guitar playing? And I put a couple examples here. So example 1, this is just an example of something that you might want to have in your guitar playing, is play faster. That's been a common one that I've seen, again, in a lot of Facebook groups and stuff like that. The other one is learn improvisation, whether it be blues or any sort of rock improvisation. So these are just examples. And then the third goal here is solo, like learning a solo to one of your favorite songs. So in each of these sections, so scales, you're going to time how many minutes you spent on scales on any given day. So on Sunday you might spend 5 minutes on scales, you might spend 10, 15 minutes maybe on scales. It depends, up to you. I don't really enforce the fact of spending any more than 15 minutes, but if you choose to do so, then that's completely up to you. And then on the same Sunday, maybe you choose to learn your notes. So again, going back to scales, do you have all your 5 pentatonic scales mastered? Do you have them memorized in the key of A? Do you have them memorized in the key of E? Can you play all the notes that are kind of in that pentatonic scale, and do you know them all over the fretboard? So that could be kind of one aspect of maybe your scales. Do you know diatonic scales like the C major, the G major? These are all important scales to know, because that's the foundation of all music. It's all built off scales, and it builds technique, and you can use it in improvisation. And when you hear another guitar player playing something, you can identify it, and it's easier to mimic it as well. And if you want to go a little step further, then you can start going into modes. Pick one key. In the key of C major, you learn all 7 modes. So scales can be broken down in many different forms. So scales are really important. So definitely that's at the top of the list, because I think that's one of the most important things to practice on guitar, to be a better guitar player. So again, 15 minutes, I don't think that's too much to ask for in one given practice session that you're going to have. And then notes, so learning the notes along the fretboard. So what I do with my students is, what you do is you're going to learn all the 7 notes that are in the musical system, because the musical system only goes from A to G. So you basically just want to learn all the notes in the alphabet: A, B, C, D, E, F, G. And then when you learn those all along the fretboards, the sharps and flats will just fall into place. So what I do with all my students, I get everyone to learn where all the A's are for 1 week, and then the next week you learn where all the B's are. The week after that you learn the C's, the week after that you learn the D's, so on and so on, until you learn all the 7 notes. And there's only one note on each string. So you have an A on the 6th string, 5th fret, you have the A 5th string open, and then you have the 7th fret A on the 4th string, then you have the 2nd fret A on the 3rd string, then you have the 10th fret A on the 2nd string, and then you have the high E string A as well, which is the same as the 6th string, okay? So those are the notes. So it's important to know the notes along the fretboard. So maybe you want to spend 5 minutes each practice session. So say on Sunday you're going to spend 15 minutes on scales, just an idea, 5 minutes on notes, and then arpeggios. So arpeggios, again, are very, very important, and they can come in various different forms. One of the things that I kind of strive for right off the bat with some of my students is learning dominant 7th arpeggios, because I tend to kind of get into blues improvisation first when some of the students are wanting to learn any improvisation. So if you take basically a blues progression and you got an A chord, say in the key of A, you got your A chord is your 1 chord, your D chord is your 4 chord, and then your 5 chord is your E. So you want to kind of learn where each one of those arpeggios are along the fretboard so you can use it for improvisation. So say the A, you got, right, and then the D arpeggio, and then the E arpeggio. And again, that's just kind of could be a foundation of understanding arpeggios, and of course there's many different areas of where to play those along the fretboard. Yeah, arpeggios can go, again, in many different forms. Those are just, I could go on, for a while on arpeggios. So those are just some ideas of how you can use arpeggios. But again, arpeggios are just invaluable. You kind of have to know them all over the fretboard. I mean, I could go to, Steve Vai or Yngwie Malmsteen or Zakk Wylde. All these guys have, all this stuff memorized like the back of their hand, this information that I'm giving you here. For guitar playing, knowing all their scales, knowing all their notes, knowing all their arpeggios, it's just like, it's second nature to them now, from practicing it for years and years and years, right? And then trill drills. Trill drills is something that I don't force on anyone, but I definitely encourage people to do it. Now, where I got these trill drills was from a Steve Vai magazine, from his 10-hour workout years ago in Guitar Player magazine. And he went through every exercise and he wrote out everything that he was going to practice. And he was pretty relentless about his practicing, and he practiced 6 to 8 hours a day, which I have as well. So back in the day when I was not quite so busy with shows and teaching as much as, when I was kind of starting out practicing, I was, 6 to 8 hours a day I would practice. So it's not uncommon for someone to do that, if you have the time and the space. So the practicing thing is something that you definitely need to have a closed off area, like a bedroom or a den or your garage, where you can be isolated without any distractions for an hour or two at a time. That's very important as well. And obviously turn your phone off, or unless you're looking up a song or a scale or something like that. But the least amount of distractions is the best thing that you can have when you're doing these practicing sessions. So trill drills is something that, because when I started doing this, I do a lot of hammer on pull-offs and stuff like that, and when you're doing that type of thing, you can never have enough strength in your left hand. So basically what it is, I'll go through these trill drills, and I call them, and Steve Vai called them the 1 minute trill drill. So you basically want to take, get your phone out and put a timer for 1 minute, and you want to choose what you can do is do a trill from your first finger to your second finger for 1 minute. Or you can do a trill from your first to third finger. Or you can do a trill from your first to pinky for 1 minute. So you want to choose one of those combinations. So either first to second finger, first to third finger, first to pinky. And then of course you can go other options as well as third finger to pinky or second finger to pinky, which is beneficial as well. And you do each of these for 1 minute. And then, and obviously it's a pretty hard strain on your hand, but it's a muscle builder, and that's what you're doing. You're building the muscle to, and again, you can, as a guitar player, you can never have enough strength in your left hand. So do those trill drills, very, very helpful. And then after you've done 1 minute of those trill drills of a combination, whatever you're gonna choose, then you do basically, I do like a 12-bar blues for like a cool down. It's like if you ran a mile, you want to kind of walk a little bit just to cool it down. So then I do like a little 12-bar blues. So do that, a little bit just as a cool down, because it's those 1 minute trill drills are a little bit of a strain on your hands and stuff like that, right? And then again, this is your practicing regimen, staying focused. So what you want to do as well is have basically 3 songs only that you want to work on, because if you start working on more than 3 songs at a time, it just gets scattered and you really honestly never get anything accomplished. So you want to kind of choose 3 songs at a time, whether it's strumming or some sort of rock song or whatever it is. Try to get all the rhythm parts down first, and then start working on any solos or leads or anything like that. That's kind of the approach that I have with everybody, is just get all the rhythm parts down, and then when you go to play, with a band or whatever, you're playing along with the song, then you really know, you really have it down. You really understand how all the parts work. And it's it's a muscle. Once you build that idea that you can master one song and you know all the parts, then when you go to another song, it's the same thing. And then say you're jamming with a band, you're going to be a very strong asset to the band because you have these songs down from beginning to end, and you can kind of drive the way that the band might go in that direction of whatever songs you might have. So anyway, it's work on 3 songs at a time. That's basically what I do with everybody, all my students and stuff, is just work on 3 at a time. So again, maybe you might just work on any given song for maybe 5, 10, 15 minutes each one. It depends how much time you're allowing yourself for your practice session. So Sunday, and you might not get through all of these ideas. You might not get through your scales. You might just be able to get through your notes and arpeggios, or 1 or 2 of your songs. But then you go to Monday, and then you chart out whatever. Maybe you're going to get a few minutes of your scales, you're going to get some trill drills in, maybe a couple arpeggios, and then you're going to work on one of your songs. And once you've mastered one of the songs, then you can start adding another one too, and just write these out too. So that's what this chart is for here. You have your song one, you write the song out, and then underneath it you write kind of how many minutes you spent on that song. And then you go to Tuesday, same thing, just pick a couple things that you want to put on. If you can get through all of these trill drills, arpeggios, notes, scales, and some of your songs in any given session, then power to you for sure. But if you only have time to get through a couple things, then by all means try to get as much as you can in. And of course you got Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and you might take a day off or something like that as well, right? Which is always good. It's good to take a little bit of breather and take a break from practicing. But yeah, that's kind of having structure and practice regimen. I know, like I said, I've seen a lot of this being asked in a lot of kind of Facebook groups, and just how do I go about practicing? Because when you don't really have a structured practice regimen, you know, you can go months and months and months and you don't really feel like you have gotten anything, you know, really accomplished. But if you have something that's written down with minutes, how many minutes you've practiced on each thing, and you look back a couple months later, you can track your progress. And you can look back and go, oh, okay, well, like that's how much I spent on that, and this is how far I've come. So in any given area of that. So yeah, I hope that helps. And I do have a blues book on Amazon called Blues in Your Hand, and under my name, Troy Thomas. So please go check that out. And there's a lot of really good information on there, which you can apply to all this stuff here. There's arpeggios, there's scales, there's licks in there, and lots of theory for blues improvisation. So again, that's called Blues in Your Hand. And I hope this helps. Until next time, happy practicing. Cheers.